Hey friends, welcome back to Figuring It Out. If you're new here, welcome. I'm Rachel. I'm a life coach, but this is not one of those podcasts where I pretend I have life all figured out. This is where we have real conversations about life, relationships, self trust, and, well, figuring it out together. So, here's something I've been thinking about this week. Do we have to put a label on everything? Seriously. Somebody doesn't text you back for a few hours. Now they're avoidant. Somebody says no. It's a boundary. Somebody's quiet. They're protecting their peace. And listen, I think all of those things exist and need to. I absolutely really believe that. And I'm actually very grateful that in today's world, we have language for things we didn't have when I was growing up. We understand trauma better, mental health, anxiety, ADHD, depression. All of that matters. And I know that is a really, really good thing. But at what point did every single interaction we have need a label? Because every once in a while, I want to say, like, no, Phyllis, they're not avoidant. It's Wednesday and they're just at the dentist. And I honestly don't know when we started doing this. Somebody doesn't text you back. The internet tells us, well, they're playing games, or they're avoidant, or they're not interested, or I really love this one. You're supposed to wait exactly 3 hours before you answer someone so you don't look too available. And sometimes I'm sitting there thinking, like, if I have my phone in my hand and I have a minute, I'm just going to text you back. Not because I'm trying to send a hidden, message in there. Not because I'm trying to prove how available I am, because I had a minute. And if I'm driving, I'll answer later. If I'm making dinner, I'll answer later. If I'm at work, I'll answer later. If I'm wandering around Costco trying to remember why I went in there in the first place, I'll answer later. And none of that means I don't like you. It just means I'm actually living my life. And honestly, I'd hope you'd assume the same thing about me. Now, don't get me wrong. I absolutely believe in boundaries. I think they're important. Not everybody deserves unlimited access to your life. I completely agree with that. But I also wonder if we started calling things boundaries that are really just healthy, normal behavior. If I invite you somewhere and you say, no thanks, okay. If I ask who called and you say, it's personal, okay. If I text you and you don't answer until tonight, okay. Why does everything have to become a thing? Like, why can't some things just be healthy, normal? I think part of the reason I see it this way, I'm going to be honest with you, is because I've lived both sides of it. Like, I remember my mom coming home from work on Fridays. Keep in mind, for those paying attention here, this was pre like internet and pre cell phones, just so everybody got that full picture. But she'd walk in the door absolutely exhausted. And a lot of times she'd go directly to her room and she wouldn't come out for like a while, like maybe the next day. And as a kid, I didn't really understand that. But looking back, I know that she had spent all week dealing with work people, other teachers, right? She was dealing with kids and she was dealing with people and stress. And she didn't have anything left to give on those particular nights. Now, to be fair, was that the healthiest way to handle it? Probably not. But I understand it a whole lot better now than I did when I was 10 because I've done it too. I've come home after a terrible day. I've been short with my kids. Am I proud of those moments? Not even a little. If I could go back and change them, I absolutely would. I also remember the first time the owner of the mortgage company that I worked at screamed at me. Keep in mind, he did not pull me into an office. He screamed across the office in front of everybody. And I can promise you, I probably wasn't much fun to be around later that day. Back then, I handled things way differently than I do now. I've learned, I've grown. Definitely not because I'm perfect, because life definitely has a way of humbling you. And I also want to be honest here. There have absolutely been times somebody has snapped at me, and my very first thought was, oh, okay. All right. So we're going to do this today. Trust me, I can run my mouth with the best of them. Sometimes I still want to. Sometimes I still do. And I'm not proud of that. Pretending I've mastered this would make me a hypocrite. So I have to be honest about that. And definitely my face is going to speak on my behalf before I can even tell it to shut up. But the difference today is I'm trying to pause because I've also been the person who snapped. I've been overwhelmed. I've been stressed. I've had a bad day. So before I decide that's just who someone is, I'm really trying to just ask myself, is this just who they are today in this moment? Now, if every day is like that, I mean, that's a totally different conversation. But one bad Tuesday? I don't know. I think we've all earned a little grace. There's another quote I hear all the time that is like nails on a chalkboard to me. So please, if you see me in the street, don't come up here and tell and say it to me, right? I don't want to hear it. Please don't. And that phrase is, or that quote is, no response is a response. Maybe, maybe not. What's been happening between the two of you? Did they disappear for 3 weeks? Or did they tell you they had a huge presentation that they needed to work on? Were they driving? Are they at the dentist? Working? Putting their kid to bed? Are they at Costco? I mean, we all know how long you can stay in Costco, guys. So the point here is that context matters. Life isn't lived in motivational quotes. It's lived in real life. Before we wrap up, let me leave you with this one. I'm not saying don't have boundaries. Have them. I'm not saying don't protect your peace. Please do. And I'm definitely not saying you should tolerate people treating you poorly. That's not what this is about. What I am saying is maybe before we put a label on somebody, before we decide what their behavior means, before we make it about us, we give them a minute. We remember we've all forgotten to text somebody back. We've all had a bad day. We've all been distracted. We've all said some things we wish we could take back. And we've all hoped someone would just give us a little grace. So maybe start there. Maybe we stop trying to diagnose every normal human interaction. And maybe stop taking every ordinary moment personally. And maybe, just maybe, we just realize that some things are just healthy normal. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. If this episode made you stop and think, I'd love it and be so forever grateful if you'd share it with someone who tends to overthink, or honestly, someone who could use a little reminder that we're all just trying to figure this out. And if you're enjoying these conversations, please make sure you're following the podcast so you never miss an episode. I'll see you next time as we keep figuring it out.